Oh, we're doing it.
Can you sleep on the plane at least?
I actually didn't. I probably should have, but I didn't. I was too amped up. So, common problem I have.
So, Mojo, you just flew in from SmackDown, and this was one of the craziest SmackDowns I've ever seen in my life. And especially, I mean, sorry about the loss, obviously.
It was a tough one. Disappointed for sure, but back at it.
But out there, I mean, you saw Vince take that headbutt. What was that like backstage for everybody to watch that?
Well, I was just coming back from my match, so I'm walking through the hallways in the back, and there was like a little monitor in one of the hallways, you know, with SmackDown on, and I walked past right as he got headbutted in the face, and I was like, wait, what? And I backed up to the TV, and I just was sitting there with my jaw all the way down to my feet. It was like, are you kidding me right now? Did that really just happen? And then he proceeded to deliver the beating of a lifetime. It was just like, whew. Man, you got to hope Vince is all right. Of course, we all know how tough he is, but that was brutal.
I'm gonna go through your whole story.
Let's do it.
How you got there. So, how has it been in adjusting since you got to the main roster? I mean, do you miss NXT?
Parts of it, a little bit. You know, you miss kind of being in the performance center. Of course, you don't always miss the 3 to 4 hour practices every day and the time requirement that you have to go to. Actually, the funny thing is now I probably spend more time in the PC now than I did when I was required to be there on my training days. But yeah, you know, you just miss like the Full Sail crowd. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that I miss now that I think about it. I mean, the Full Sail crowd was one that I had a very special relationship with. You know, when I first debuted, you know, they were right there with me and very supportive. There was a while where they soured on me, and I was very appreciative of that because it motivated me. You know, why are people not supporting me like they used to? What do I need to do better? And then, you know, we come full circle. You know, that my last stretch there, you know, they were right back with me. But you know, I appreciate their honesty, their enthusiasm. You know, they're kind of like the catalyst and the springboard for all the shows that we go to all across the world. You know, they come up with these ridiculous and awesome chants there, and they come in with their posters, and they set that level of hype that all these other cities that we go to feel compelled to match, you know, or beat. You know, so it's almost they have that attitude where it's Full Sail versus the world, and in the end, we all win because the fans get into it. Yeah. They kind of motivate them.
And I mean, you came from an American football background, and you know, a lot of guys, once they switch over from other sports, maybe they got hurt, maybe they just couldn't do it anymore, maybe they couldn't cut it. This was a choice for you.
Yes, sir.
You know, you wanted wrestling. So was there ever a point when you were, you know, you're struggling in those early days in NXT when you thought maybe you made the wrong choice, maybe you wanted to go back to football, or was this always 100% going to be your thing?
This was it. I made the choice to leave football to come here. It was a no-brainer for me at the time. This was the first thing I ever wanted to do. You know, having invested that much time into football and having made it to the NFL, you know, you got to think of it from an outsider's perspective. It was not a logical move by any means. I'm here in the NFL at a salary that is high, and now I got to come start back over from scratch and go back to the training grounds where I'm unproven, where I haven't earned a thing, where I'm entering an industry where I might not pan out. And, you know, I have my master's in finance. I've always been financially oriented. You think of it from a dollar standpoint, like it was not a logical move in the beginning, but it was something, it was one of those situations where you got to follow your heart and where you want to be, and you kind of throw logic to the wind in those situations. And I'm glad I did. I haven't looked back ever since, even at my darkest of times here, whether it was in NXT or here on SmackDown. You know, I've never regretted that decision, not once, ever. And, you know, I would have thought at one point that I would have even missed football had I not, you know, even that I don't regret leaving, maybe missed it, but I really haven't. You know, the WWE's given me everything I look for in life and then some. It's allowed me to see the world. It's allowed me to come here to Dubai, to explore my family's heritage, where we come from, to see their side of the world where they grew up. And these are opportunities I would have never had, not only from football, but from life. You know, whether I did pursue my finance degree and decide to apply that in a more direct manner, like the WWE's given me everything, and I'm very grateful for that.
What was the most surprising part once you made the transition into wrestling? Just about, how hard it was going to be.
The mental component. The physical component is brutal, don't get me wrong. I feel like I was very prepared for that. Coming from football where I was a nose guard and defensive tackle with 350-pound monsters trying to tear my head off every play. Very similar to what we do here now. With the mental component, you have no idea what goes into this business until you actually get here. Before I signed, I watched tons of tape, studying matches, studying everything I could get my hands on from WWE, and no matter how much I watched, it did not prepare me for what to expect. The burdens mentally of being on the road when things aren't going your way and wondering what's going on, where's my career headed, what do I have to do to get out of this slump, am I ever going to get out of this slump, am I on the chopping block, how can I get these fans to like me? Well, how come they don't like me as much as I want them to? I feel like everywhere I've been in my life, I've been such a likable guy, so when I go to places where they don't care about me, it's like, what? It kind of throws you off at first. So having the willpower to kind of have that mental toughness and hang in there and really, kind of stay humble enough to ask yourself why, as opposed to, pointing a finger or complaining or anything. I mean, these are kind of factors that we go through every day, not just me, but everyone on the roster. It's that mental component is by far the most difficult.
Well, walk me through that thought process. I mean, obviously, as you're saying, you're such a likable guy. And on a personal level, when you're sitting down with somebody, you can charm anybody. So what was it, once you figured it out, how did you get the fans to get behind you? How did you make people support you? How did you have to behave differently in order to get a crowd behind you as opposed to just a person across from you in a room?
Honestly, one of the things I do is I like to stand in front of a mirror and just kind of stare at myself. And just kind of, when you're forced to look yourself in your own eyes, it's a little easier to kind of get to the depths of situations like this. And for me, it was just a matter of, I have a lot of energy. I'm out there all the time. I'm very loud. I can be obnoxious. A lot of time I do that on purpose because I think it's funny, to be honest with you. But is that digestible to the fan? Or am I just some guy that's coming out running and screaming and acting like an idiot and it's too much? For people that live that extroverted lifestyle, they're all for it. They love it. But for the people that are more introverted, a little quieter, that keep their mouths shut, that guy's not for them. Now, to a certain extent, I'm not going to change who I am. I have to be who I am because that's how I've achieved success, in my life and whatever stage I've been in. But at the same time, you want to give people the best version of yourself, and you have to be aware enough that you have to take your ego out of it. Like, you can't force feed people something that they don't want. So it's just kind of finding that happy medium, and that can be the struggle, is how to balance that dichotomy.
One of the most powerful moments on Breaking Ground, the behind-the-scenes series of NXT, was you meeting that fan outside who brought you his grades, and he told you he brought your grades every semester, and you held it up for everybody, and you're so proud of that kid. So are you still able to connect with the fans on that level?
Absolutely. The grades thing has always been one that's been huge for me. I have to say it, like, the number one most important thing in the company to me has to be enacting change in people's lives. It's got to be more important than a title. It's got to be more important than, the traveling and seeing the world. We are given a very elevated platform to do good in the world. We say it all the time. We try to put smiles on people's faces. That's what we're about. And we have the opportunity of a lifetime to do that. And, with our schedules, it can be tough. And, when you've been on the road, I just flew in. I've spent 25 hours from SmackDown in Vegas to get here today. The last thing sometimes you want, when I only have 15 minutes, literally from when I get to the airport to iron my suit, get dressed, and get on the road for a full day of media, when there's those fans outside the front asking for a picture and you just don't have the time to do it, it gets tough, But you got to remember, who pays your bills. These are the people that support you, that are there for you, that are giving you this opportunity, and you just got to find the time to make it work. So when you have these opportunities, you try to do the best you can, especially, you know, for the people that support you support you the most. And for me, I worked really hard in school. I was the youngest person in the history of my university to earn an MBA, and I know how many doors that's opened for me. I know how important that is to the WWE when it comes to outreach, not only on a community level, but with a global presence as well. So why wouldn't I use that, my background, to help support, you know, children all over the world, you know, to do their best, to not neglect the classroom, to not focus on, you know, sports too much or watching too much wrestling. You got to find that balance so you can have the greats to actually get here. I mean, at the end of the day, that's going to be the most important thing to you. So it's just about, you know, making that difference and forcing the time to do it.
So when you're down in NXT, you have a very unconventional thing happen to you. You know, you have Zack Ryder be brought down from the main roster to be your partner, and not only your partner, in a way, a mentor, a guy who's gone through it all, who was able to make himself, you know, the internet champion, who's had a very storied career on his own, and he's there for you to learn from. And you get called up to the main roster together. You're about to have it happen. You become #1 contenders. Then Zack goes down. He gets hurt. All of a sudden, you're on your own.
Yep.
So what was that like for you once you know that you have to, in an unexpected situation, kind of just be Mojo without having Zack there with you?
I think that's where my mantra comes into play. You know, I stay hyped. That's not just coming to the ring and running around with a lot of energy. That is by far a secondary or even tertiary usage of my mantra. Staying hyped is because I was always that last recruited guy on the team that had to work 10 times harder than everyone just so he could get noticed, just so he could be a backup or get a scholarship, you know, when it came to playing sports. So that's what I've always hung my hat on. So when things happen, you just got to roll with the punches. I was in NXT, I was doing great, I got injured, I was out. High, immediately followed by a low. I come back, I get Zack Ryder as a tag partner. We're off to the races. We go on a win streak. We get called up to the main roster. We're really trying to fight an uphill battle. American Alpha came up at the same time as us. They have all their established tag teams on SmackDown. Boom. We get this opportunity just to have it taken away literally within the same second. Zack injured himself on the last move of that match, winning us that match. In my hometown of DC, I might add. So you just got to roll with the punches, and it's been tough, but you know, that was one of those things where I felt like I made the most of my opportunity. I went on a win streak. I won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. I'm still the only person on SmackDown that's beaten WWE Champion Jinder Mahal. I did a lot of great things, and now he's back. And we're at a low point now. You know, we've lost a couple in a row, a couple of real tough ones in a row, disappointing losses, and you know, this is kind of what it's about. This is what life's about. This is what we're about here in the WWE, is who can stay hyped the longest. And that's how you make a career. And we're going to bounce back, I assure you of that.
So what did you learn from Zack in the whole time that you worked with him? How did it change you?
Zack and I always like to say that we're a tag team, so I can hype him up and he can calm me down. Sometimes I get so worked up, I kind of see red, and I need to just stop, slow down, focus, and just kind of keep my mind a little more calm, a little more still, a little more focused, and that's kind of where he comes into play. You know, at the same time, I'm there to amp him up, to jack him up, to, you know, get him to reach a level, an energy level that he's not accustomed to or he's never reached. Go a step further than that, I've gotten to benefit from his 10 years of experience. When we're approaching a game plan for a match, how we're going to attack an opponent's strategy, he can use that kind of veteran leadership to take what I'm good at, my strengths, and just align them in a more refined and polished delivery, I guess is one way to say it. Sometimes all that energy can be a bit much, and sometimes I make mistakes because of it. He's there to prevent me from doing that.
So obviously it's an incredibly complicated business. Who else have you leaned on backstage, you know, on the main roster as people who you've gained knowledge from in this time?
I mean, Cena's got to be up there. Cena's been helping me from day one, kind of just getting a chat with him. And, you know, we don't get to see each other a lot based on his schedule, on mine, and especially now that he's over on the red team. But, you know, being able to have a guy like that around, one of the best to ever do it, like anything he says, you got to listen to it. You apply it in your own direct way because everyone's different, but you got to at least take what he's got and see how it would work for you. AJ Styles is great guy. we always play Family Feud together backstage on my phone. Between sessions, we'll talk about wrestling and how I can be better. And he's been able to help me with his wealth of experience from not only the WWE now, but all over the world. I mean, we have a lot of great guys in that locker room, man. And with a lot of guys, it's that team, family atmosphere, and guys are very eager to help each other.
Tell me a bit more about your relationship with your heritage. So I know obviously you do speak Arabic fluently, or just
I only speak a little bit of Arabic. My dad's Palestinian, my mom is part Syrian, half Syrian. My dad's whole side of the family is spread out from Jordan to Saudi Arabia, all over the Middle East. My family was in the United Nations, so we're from everywhere. Family photos are hilarious because we got like every continent, every country covered. I feel like it's great. Family reunions are awesome, but to be back here in the Middle East, to be in Dubai for the very first time. My dad flew in today to come kind of share this experience with me. It's second to none. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so happy to be here. All that travel, I haven't slept since Monday night, I just realized, because coming from SmackDown Tuesday, all that travel to come straight here, I didn't sleep on the planes. I was too excited, too jacked up to come and be a part of it and see it firsthand and be able to represent my company and my family's portion of the world. How do you top that,
Yeah, absolutely. So are you able to really dig into your heritage? Is that something you've always been interested in? And how have you learned more about it? And how are you going to try to explore it while you're here?
Well, actually, the WWE's been great to me in that regard. My family taught me a little bit of Arabic when I was a kid, not enough to be conversational. WWE has a lot of policies and programs in place to help their wrestlers and entertainers outside of the ring. One of them is a tuition reimbursement plan. So I used that to get an Arabic tutor. And we were taking lessons. Recently it's been a little difficult based on my schedule, but for a long time we were doing them multiple times a week. And kind of prepare me for moments like this, and it's been really cool. The cooler part about it even has been able to, have conversations in Arabic with my family at home. I mean, that's awesome. To go to Riyadh in November and have a match there and be able to speak to the people in Arabic before my match and just hear the roar of the crowd and them immediately accept you because you're one of them. It's I wouldn't have believed that would have ever happened to me. It's a very humbling experience.
Absolutely. And kind of a left field question, but what's your favorite car?
My favorite car?
Favorite car.
Oh man, I'm not much of a car guy, admittedly. My dad is. He's a big Corvette guy.
Mine too.
There you go.
67 Corvette was always broken down when I was a kid.
My man. Well, my dad has a Corvette and sometimes I borrow it from him. But maybe if I'm going to go on a date to impress her.